Hello, Mahima here from Gosna Academy. I hope you all are doing good. Today we will study the chapter 4, which is structure of the atom. Here, like in the previous chapter, we have studied about the atoms, how atom formed, about the theory and all. But now we'll study the structure of atom in this particular chapter. So in chapter 3, we have learned about the atoms and molecules that I've already told, and also the fundamental building block of matter. The existence of the different kind of matter is due to the different atoms and constituting them. Now the question arises, okay, what makes the atom of one element different from the another atom of another element? So second question is, are the atoms really indivisible? Are the purpose for the delta, or there are some smaller constituent inside the atom? So we shall find out the answer of these questions in this chapter. We will learn about the subatomic particles and the various models and that have been proposed to explain how the particle arranged within the atom. So yes, see in the last chapter we have only studied about the atom and the thing that it is individual and all. That's it. But the question arises, like, is there any atom, or it is that much indivisible, or we get some more subatomic atom and all? So this is all question arises. So these all kind of things we'll study about the structure and all. A major challenge before the scientists at end of the 19th century was rebuild the structure of the atom as well as explain its important properties. So the elucidation of a structure of an atom is based on the series of an experiment. One of the first indication that atoms are not indivisible comes from the studying the static electricity and condition under which electricity is conducted by the different substances. So, charged particles in matter. So, as we have started that no, it is not indivisible for the study of electricity. As electricity is coming, charged particle thing will become. So, let's study the charged particle in matter. For understanding the nature of a charged particle in matter, let us carry a following activity. So, firstly, you will have to comb dry hair. Does the comb then attract the particle smaller piece of the paper? Rub the glass of the rod with the silk cloth and bring the rod near to the inflated balloon. Observe what happens. So this is some activity. Also from these activities, you can conclude that on rubbing the two objects together, they become electrically charged. Okay, where does this charge come from? So the question can be like answered by knowing that atom is a divisible and consists of charged particle. Here, like we concluded that atom is divisible as well as it is consist of a charged particle, because by rubbing the two things we are getting an electrically charged thing. Okay, that's why many scientists contributed in revealing the presence of charged particles in an atom. It was known by the 1900 that the atom was an indivisible particle. Okay. In 1900, we have just we divided that atom was an indivisible particle, but contain at least one subatomic particle. Okay. Okay. It is indivisible particle, but it contains at least some atomic particle. The electron identified by this J.J. Thomson even before the electron was identified. So, identified E. Goldstein in 1886 discovered the presence of a new radiation in the gas discharge, and this is known as a canal rays. These rays were positively charged and radiations, which ultimately led to the discovery of another subatomic particle. This subatomic particle had a charge equal magnitude but opposite again assigned to that electron. So its mass was approximately 2000 times, and that was an electron. So it was given the name of an proton. Okay, so here they have simply given the particular charge name as a proton. In general, electron is represented by E minus and proton will be P plus. So the mass of proton is taken as a 1 unit, its charge is +1, and the mass of electron is considered to be negligible is a -1. So firstly, we got that when we are rubbing two thing, then we are getting a charge. From this thing, we concluded that we are getting the charge kind of positive charge, negative charge. It means electron and proton. It is a electron as an E minus and proton as an P plus. So it is seen that the atom was composed of a proton and electron. Here it is they have concluded that as charge is coming, it means positive or negative charge, and positive or negative charge is coming, it means proton and electron is there. So what they have seen that atom was composed of proton and electron mutually balancing their charges. It also appeared that the proton were in the interior of an atom. for whereas the electron could easily gets removed off, but not a proton. Now, the big question was what sort of structure did these particles of an atom form? We'll find out the answer like how. Okay, so the structure of atom. We have learned the Dalton's atomic theory in the chapter 3 that we suggested that atom is an individual and a indestructible as well. But the discovery of two fundamental particles, it means like whatever we have studied now only, it's electron and proton inside the atom led to failure often than that aspect of Dalton atomic theory. It was considered that necessary to know that electron and the proton are arranged within an atom. What they have considered that electron and the proton are arranged within the atom. For explaining this, many scientists proposed a various atomic model. J.J. Thomson was the first one to propose a model of the structure of an atom. Who was the first one? J.J. Thomson was the first one. He proposed the model for the structure of an atom. Now, the Thomson model of an atom, what exactly it is? Let's study. So Thomson proposed the model of an atom to be similar to that as a Christmas pudding, like this. Okay, these particles sphere of the positive charge were like a cucurine, like it will be like a dry fruit. Okay, and in a spherical Christmas pudding, we can also think that a watermelon is a positively charged particle atom spread all over the red edible part, and the watermelon, while the electron are stuffed and the positively charged particle, this sheet of the in the watermelon. So it's a watermelon, and then these positive sphere electron and all are like a seeds. Okay, so this is how he explained. Now, who was a J.J. Thomson? So J.J. Thomson from 1856 to 1940, a British actually physicist, and was born in a Chetna Hill of a suburb of Manchester. In 18 December 1856, he was awarded with the Nobel Prize of in the physics in 1906 for his work on the discovery of electron, and he directed the Cavendish laboratory at Cambridge for 35 years, and seven of his research assistants subsequently won the Nobel Prizes. Now, Thomson proposed that an atom consists of a positively charged sphere and the electrons are embedded in it. And second is the negative and the positive charge are equal in magnitude, so the atom is whole electrically neutral. As positive and negative both charges are there, so it will be negative and it will be neutral. An atom consists of positively charged particle and electrons has embedded in it. So this is what he proposed from his theory. Although the Thomson model explained that the atoms are electrically neutral, okay, the result of experiment carried out by other scientists could not be explained by this model as we see below. Now, other model, which is known as Rutherford model of an atom. So, Ernest Rutherford was interested in knowing that the electrons are arranged within atom. Okay, Rutherford designed an experiment for this, and in this experiment, fast-moving alpha particle he proposed were made up of fall on a thin gold foil. So he selected a gold foil because he wanted as in thin layer as possible. This gold foil was about 1000 atom thick. Second is alpha particle are doubly charged helium ions, and since they have a mass of 4u, the fast-moving alpha particle have considered as an amount of energy. It was expected that alpha particle would be deflected by the subatomic particle in gold atoms. Since the alpha particle were much heavier than the proton, he did not expect to see the large deflection. So, see, the atoms are scattering of alpha particle in the gold foil. So this is a gold alpha particle scattering. Some are deflecting, some are changing, some are going in the same direction. So, but the alpha particle scattering experiment gave the totally unexpected result. So, the result was, firstly, the most of the fast moving alpha particle passed through the straight line of the gold foil like this. Some of the alpha particle was the deflecting, coming and then deflecting by the foil from the small angle. Surprisingly, out of every 12,000 of the particles appear to be rebound. So in the words, Rutherford, this result was almost incredible, as if you fired a 15-inch shell at the piece of the tissue paper and then come back and hits you. So this is what Rutherford atomic model gives theory, okay, and it's totally based on the alpha particle. E. Rutherford was from 1871 to 1937, was born in the Spring Grove. On 30th August 1871, he was known as the father of a nuclear physics. Okay, if he is famous for his work on the radioactivity and the discovery of a nucleus of an atom. With a gold foil experiment, he got the Nobel Prize in the chemistry in 1908. So this is all about the Rutherford. Now let us think of an activity in an open field to understand the implication of an experiment. Let the child stand in a front of a wall and his eyes closed, and let him throw the arrow of the stones and the wall from the distance. He will hear the sound. When the each stone of the strike ball, he repeats that 10 times. He will hear the sound the 10 times, but the blindfolded child were threw the stones at the at the barbed wire fence. Most of the stones would not hit the fencing, as the sound note would not hear. So this is the because that there are a lot of gaps in the force which allow the stone to pass through them. So following as a similar reasoning, Rutherford concluded the alpha particle scattering. First is most of the space inside the atom are empty because of the most alpha particle pass through the gold foil and then getting deflected like CDs. Okay. Also, second is very few particles were deflected from their path, indicating the positive charge, and the atom occupies very little space. And third is a very small fraction of the alpha particle was deflected by the 180-degree, indicating that all the positive charge and the mass of the gold atom were concentrated in a very small volume within a atom. Now, from the data, he also calculated that the radius of a nucleus is about 10 raised to the power 10 raised to the power 5 times of less than the radius of an atom. So, on the basis of his experiment, Rutherford put forward the nuclear model of an atom, which had an following features. Okay, let's study the feature. First is there is a positively charged center of atom, which is known as nucleus. Here he concluded, as we have already studied, he only discovered the nucleus thing. So there is a one charged particle, okay, charge in the center. This in the center only. This particular thing is known as the nucleus, and nearly all the mass of the atom resides in the nucleus. The electron revolve around the nucleus in a circular path, and the size of the nucleus is a very small as compared to the size of an atom. Now, drawback of an Rutherford model of the atom. What are the drawbacks? So, the revolution of an electron in a circular orbit is not expected to be stable. Any particle in the circular orbit would undergo acceleration, and during the acceleration, charged particle would radiate the energy. So, thus, revolving electron would lose energy and finally fall into the nucleus. If there was so, the atom should be highly unstable, and hence matter would not be exist in the form that we know. We know that atoms are quite stable. So this is the drawback of a Rutherford model. So whenever you will get any question, you will have to explain about the Rutherford model, how it works, alpha particle scattering thing, and along with that, the nucleus thing, like the nucleus which is situated in the center, and the drawbacks as well. So this is all about the Rutherford atomic model. Now the Bohr model for the atom. Okay. In order to overcome the objection raised against the Rutherford model of an atom, Neil Bohr put forward the following postulates and about the model of an atom. Okay. So only certain spatial orbit is known as a discrete orbit of an electron are allowed to inside the atom. Second is while revolving the discrete orbit, the electron do not radiate the energy. Who was the Neil Bohr? So he, from 1885 to 1962, he was born in a Copenhagen of 7 October 1885. He was appointed as a professor for the physics and he got the Nobel Prize for his work on the structure of an atom in 1922. And among the professors, the Bohr named as writing the three appearing books, The Theory of a Spectra, The Atomic Constitution, and Atomic Theory and the Description of a Nature. So the orbit of the cell is called, according to this theory, these orbits are the cell of energy levels, and energy levels in an atom are shown in the flow. Like see, the nucleus, and then this is the energy, these are the energy levels, N level, M, and then L, and then K. So these orbits are represented by the letter K, L, M, N, and or the numbers like 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So this is all about the Bohr atomic model. Now the neutrons. In 1932, J. Chadwick has discovered another atomic particle which had a no charge and a mass nearly equal to that of proton. It was eventually named as a neutron, and neutron are present in the nucleus of an atom and expect the hydrogen. In general, a neutron is then represented as an N, and the mass of an atom is therefore given by the sum of the masses and the proton and neutron present in the nucleus. So this is what about the neutron means. Now, how electron distributed in the different cells. So the distribution of an electron is into the different orbits of an atom as is suggested by the Bohr and the Bury. The following rules are followed for writing the number of electrons in the different energy level of cell. First is the maximum number of electron present in the cell is given by the formula, which is 2n square, where n is the number of orbit and the index number like 1, 2, 3 and go on. So hence the maximum number of electron in the present cell as well. Like for the K cell, it is 2 into 1 is square, that means 2. For N, L is 2, so it will be 2 into 2 square, it will be 8. For M, it is 3, so it's 3 square into 2, it will be 18. And it's 2 into 4 square, it will be 32 and so on. So the maximum number of electron that can be accommodated is in 8. Okay, like an outermost shell, it will be 8. Electrons are not accommodated in the in the given shell unless the inner shells are the filled. So that is the cell filled in the stepwise manner. Atomic structure of the first 18 elements is shown in the systematically. Like see, H, E, it's 3, and then 3, and then 1. So this is how this is the systematic atom structure of the first 18 elements. Okay. Now the valency. We have learned about how the electron in an atom are arranged in the different cells of orbit. So the electron present in the outermost shell of the atom is known as a valence electron. The electron which are present in the outermost shell of the atom, which is known as electron or valence electron. For the Bohr-Bury scheme, we also know that the outermost shell of an atom can accommodate a maximum 8 electron as we have studied, and it is observed that the atom of an element completely filled with the 8 electron in the outermost shell as is show the later chemical activity. In other words, the combining of capacity valency 0 of these parts, and the helium of an atom has a 2 electrons in its outermost shell, and elements have then an 8 electron in the outermost shell. So see, in this particular table, it is a combination of atoms of the first 8 electron with the electronic distribution and a various shell. So name of element is there. Hydrogen is represented as H. Atomic number is 1. Number of proton is 1. It's nothing fine. Helium is 2. Then atomic proton is 2. Number of neutron is 2. Electron is 2. Distribution for the column. So no other we have. So only it will be 2. Here we have like 4. Then 2, 1, 3. And then valency will be 1. So like this. This is the composition of an atom. Okay. Now the combining capacity of an atom of an element, that is their tendency to react the form of molecules with the atom of same of a different elements, and was thus explained as an attempt or to attain the fully filled outermost shell. And outermost shell which had 8 electrons was said to possess an octet. So atom would thus react so as to achieve the octet in the outermost shell. So this was done by sharing and gaining or losing electron. The number of an electron gained or the loss shared, and as to make the octet electron is the outermost shell, gives directly combining the capacity of the element, that is valency discussed with the previous chapter. So for example, hydrogen, helium, lithium atoms and contains electron outermost shell. Therefore, each atom that can lose the 1 electron, so that they have to set the valency of 1. Okay, when they are losing, it's said to be the valency of 1. Can you tell that what valency, magnesium and aluminium? So, also it is like 2, 3 respectively, like whatever they are donating. So, it is the magnesium has a 2 electron and outermost shell, aluminium has a 3 electron in the outermost shell. So, if the number of electron in the outermost shell of an electron is close to its full capacity, the valency is determined in the different way. For example, the fluorine of atom has an 7 electron, okay, in the outermost shell, and it has a valency of could be 7. But it is easier fluorine to gain the 1 electron instead of losing for the 7 electron. Okay, fine, that because it has to complete 8. So it will gain it, okay. So hence its valency determined by subtracting the 7 electron from the octet and then gives the valency of 1 for the fluorine. So valency can be calculated by the similar manner for the oxygen. So therefore, an atom of each element has a definite combining capacity, which is called as valency. Valency of the first 18 elements is given in the last column we have studied. Okay. Now atomic number and atomic mass. Now atomic number. We know that the proton are present in the nucleus of an atom. Right? We have studied that how the proton nucleus is there in the center and all. So it is the number of proton of an atom which determines its atomic number. It denoted by the Z, atomic number denoted by Z, and at all the atom of an element having same atomic number Z. In fact, the element of is defined by the number proton at the forces. So for a hydrogen, Z is equals to 1, because in hydrogen atom only one electron is present in the nucleus. Similar to that, so Z is equals to 6. So therefore, the atomic number is defined as the total number of proton present in the nucleus of an atom. So this is atomic number means. Okay. Now what is the mass number? After studying the property of subatomic particle of an atom, we can conclude that the mass of an atom is practically due to the proton and a neutron alone, and these are present in the nucleus of an atom, and hence proton and a neutron are also called as a nucleons. Okay, so proton and electron are known as neutrons are called as a nucleons. Therefore, the mass of an atom resides in its nucleus. For example, mass of carbon is 12 because it has a 6 proton and 6 neutrons. So it will be 6u plus 6u is equals to 12. Tell U. So similarly, the mass of an aluminum is 27U. So 13 proton and 14 neutron. So the mass of the number is defined as a sum of total number of proton and a neutron present in the nucleus of an atom. So it is denoted by A. So in notation for any atom, the atomic number of the mass symbol of an element is also written as like this. Okay. This is the symbol of an element X, mass number in the upper side and atomic number in the lower side. For example, nitrogen N, then 14 and then 7. It is the mass number and atomic number is 7. So this is how we can represent it. Now the isotopes. This is also something very important topic. What is isotope? So in nature, a number of an atom of some element have been divided and identified, which have the same atomic number but a different atomic mass. So simply, they are having the same atomic number, what the different mass numbers. Okay, for example, you'll have to take the case of an hydrogen atom. It has in 3 atomic species, like protonium, it's 1 and then H, deuterium, it's 2 and H and D, and it is tridanium, which is 13H or T. So the atomic number of each one is 1. Okay, but the mass number is 1, 2, and 3. Respectively, other such examples are like carbon 12, 6 and 6, 14, 6 and 6, chlorine is 34, 17, and Cl, like this. So on the basis of these example, isotopes are defined that they are having the same number of atomic number, but the mass is the different for them. So on the basis of these example, isotopes determine and the atom of the same element having a same atomic number, but the different mass numbers. So therefore, we can say that these 3 isotopes of an hydrogen atom, namely as a protonium, deuterium, and a tritanium. So this is what isotope means. Now, the many element consist of a mixture of isotopes. Okay, each isotope of an element is a pure substance. Now, the chemical property of isotopes are similar, but the physical properties are different. Okay, chemically they are completely same, but when we talk about the physical properties, so they are different. Chlorine occurs in the nature in a 2 isotopic form. Okay, within the masses 35U and then 37U. In the ratio, different ratio will be 3:1. Obviously, the question arises, what should we take the mass of the chlorine atom? So, see, we'll find it out. The average atomic mass of chlorine atom on the basis of the data, it's 35 atomic mass and then 75/100 plus 37 into 25. So, when we solve it, we'll get it 35.5 U. So, the mass of an atom of any natural element is taken as an average mass of naturally occurring atom of that element. If the element has no isotope, it means the mass of an atom would be the same as the number of proton and a neutron. If isotope will not be there, then obviously it will have a same proton and same neutron both. But if an element occurs in the isotopic form, then we have to know the percentage of each isotopic form and then average masses to be calculated. So this does not mean that any of one of the atom chlorine has a fractional mass which is 35.5 U, and it means that if you take a certain amount of chlorine, it will contain both isotope of chlorine and the average is 35.5 U. Okay. So the application for the isotope is, since the chemical property of all the isotope of an element are same. Okay. So normally we are not concerned about the taking a mixture, but some isotopes having special properties which will find them useful in the various held, and some of them are Firstly, an isotope of an uranium is used to fuel up the nuclear reactor. Second, an isotope of an cobalt is used to treatment of cancer. Third is an isotope is an iodine which is used in the treatment of goiter. So these are the application for the isotopes, and we have studied about the isotope and its application. Now let's move forward with the one another topic, important topic, which is isobar. After isotope, we'll study the isobar. So let us consider two elements are there. Okay, atomic number is 20 and argon, and atomic number is 80. Okay, calcium is 20 and argon is 80. So the number of proton in those atom is different, but the mass of the numbers for the element is 40. Okay, so that is the total number of nucleus in the same atom of their pair. So atom of a different, but the different atomic number which have a same mass number. So what we are getting is, here it is having a different atomic number, that's fine, but their mass is same. Okay, earlier we'll get both the different thing, but here the atomic number is same, atomic number is different, but the atomic mass is same. Okay, is known as isobar. So this is the definition for isobar. So that's it about the isobar and the isotope. Now we'll study what we have learned in this chapter. So we'll firstly credit the discovery of an electron and a proton goes to the J.J. Thomson, because in the previous chapter we have studied only about the atoms, but he is only the one who explained that no, because when we are rubbing the two particles, we are getting something, a charged particle kind of thing. Then charged particle is there. It means positive and negative. Both the charges are there. Then he has given the name which is positive and negative charge. It means neutron, electron and proton. So here the credit of a discovery of an proton, which goes to J.J. Thomson and the E. Goldstein respectively. Also, second is J.J. Thomson proposed that electrons are embedded in the positive sphere. This is also he has explained. Okay, Rutherford atomic model. After that, Rutherford atomic model also we have studied. In that particular model, we have studied about the alpha particles. Some are going directly, some are deflecting. So, some drastic changes also we have studied in this particular Rutherford model, but some drawbacks were also there. But from this particular Rutherford model, we got to know about the nucleus thing as well. Okay, nucleus which is situated in the center, or the like consists of the many positive particles as well. So Rutherford alpha particles scattering the experimental to lead the discovery of an atomic nucleus. Other than that, Rutherford model of an atom proposed that very tiny nucleus is present inside the atom, and electron revolve around this nucleus. Okay, what are all are revolving? So electron are revolving around the nucleus, and the stability of an atom could not be explained by this method. So stability was not there in this particular model. After that, after this Rutherford model, Niels Bohr has given his model, and in Niels Bohr model of the atom was a more successful. Okay, and he proposed that electrons are distributed in a different shells of the discrete energy. He has simply divided it with respect to the energy, like KLMN, and so if the atomic cells are the complete, then atom will be stable and the rest reactive. Now after that, J.H. Atomic discovered the presence of an electron, of neutrons, and the J.H. Atomic discovered the presence of neutron. It means neutron and proton nucleus of an atom. So there is a subatomic particle of electron is also there, proton is also there, and neutron is also there. So electron are the negatively charged and proton are the positively charged, and positive and the neutron have a no charge. So the mass of the electron will be 1 upon 2000 times of a mass of an hydrogen, and the mass of proton and the neutron take on a 1 unit each. Also, what according to the board, he has divided into the energy. So the cell of an atom designated as a KLM and N. Okay. Also, valency of also the valency of an combining capacity of an atom. The atomic number of an electron is the same number of proton in the nucleus of an atom. The mass number of an atom is equal, and the number of the nucleons and its nucleus. Also, we have studied the isotope and the isobar. So here the isotope is nothing but it is the atoms of the same element which have a different mass number. Here the element was same, but the mass number was different. So this particular thing is known as isotope. Also, we have studied the application of isotope, where it is helping in the medical field and all. Also, after the isotope, we have studied about the isobar. So isobar is nothing but here the atoms are having the same mass number but the different atomic numbers. Completely they are having the same mass number but the atomic numbers same mass number but the atomic number is different. Then the particular thing is known as isobar. Also, elements are defined by the number of a proton they possess. So this is all about the chapter. We have studied about the structure, how the atom form, the some theories, Rutherford model theory, Bohr theory, and all. So in this chapter, we have totally studied about the structure of an atom. But still, if you have any doubts or you want a teacher to guide you personally, you can join our one-to-one live tutoring at Gosnow Academy. We will help you to learn every concept with the ease. So thanks for watching. Just stay tuned for the next chapter, which will be the chapter number 4. Thanks for watching.